so that we don't delay the sessions after us. So once again, good afternoon, and welcome to this panel discussion that we have here today. My name is Katrina Morton, and I'm heading the Technical Assistance Facility for the Sanad Fund for MSME at Finance in Motion. Finance in Motion is a leading impact asset management company that advises impact investment funds and manages the technical assistance facilities associated with those funds worldwide. And for those of you who are not familiar with Sanad, it's an MSME fund that operates in the Middle East and North Africa region. And we, as a technical assistance facility, provide capacity building to the partners of the fund in the region, and we also do some work on the sector level to promote the development of financial ecosystem. So I'm very happy to be here today and to moderate the panel on the role of data in advancing women's financial inclusion, where we as Sanad have carried out some work that we would like to share with you today. And we also heard from the governor's presentation and speech earlier about the importance of female empowerment and advancing access to finance for women, which is one of the strategic priorities under the financial inclusion strategies. And today we would like to talk more and present the case for gender mainstreaming and its role in advancing access to finance and women's financial inclusion. So last year we implemented a project under which we conducted research on gender mainstreaming in the MENA region, together spoke with financial institutions in the region, and today would like to present the results of this work. And I'm happy to introduce my fellow panelists, distinguished speakers here today. We have next to me Abir Obva, Director of Marketing and Business Development at Wilcom here in Jordan. Then we have Sally Yacoub, a senior gender expert with extensive experience in providing technical and strategic advice and leadership on gender equality and financial inclusion, who implemented the project for Sanad last year. Next, we have Rania Al-Khairi, Administrative Manager at Vitas Palestine, who also is the head of the gender unit at the institution. And finally, Iveta Tancheva-Nikolova, the fund director for the Sanad Fund for MSMEs at Finance in Motion. Welcome, dear panelists, and thank you very much for your time today. So before we dive into the topic of gender mainstreaming, I would like to start with you, Sally. Maybe you could speak a little bit about the state of gender finance and women's financial inclusion in general in the MENA region from the research that you have conducted.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be with you here today, and I know it's after lunch, so we count on your presence with us today with the brilliant panel. On women's financial inclusion, and I think this is not a surprise for some of the numbers that I'm going to be speaking and some of the key insights that came from the research will not be a major surprise for you, but it's important to maybe reflect on some of those. First of all, MENA has about 41% account ownership, which is for 15 plus, for the ages of 15 plus. We're not yet there, and that only speaks to the access, not about the usage and beyond. There's a 13% gender gap in MENA, that is between the, financial inclusion indicators between women and men, which is 3 times the global average and 2 times the average for developing countries. So that is, there's more work to do. albeit progress, so it's not to say that there hasn't been progress, and many of you in this room have been change makers trying to, promote gender mainstreaming and gendered financial inclusion. What are the barriers? To be able to think together and reflect on remedies, we need to think about what is the root cause, the barriers. And some of the key barriers that, the elephant in the room that really hold financial inclusion oftentimes are gender norms, and that are restrictive and that impact women's ability to both be economically active, but also to benefit from financial services, And that includes, norms related to inheritance and that impact women's ability to, access and have control over and own, key resources in their life, including land, property, and other equipment, if you were to think about women, small farmers. And that puts them at a huge disadvantage when it comes to access to financial services. Many of you know that, including collateral requirements and meeting the requirements for financial institutions. Unequal paid care work that that comes up quite prominently. And why do we talk about unpaid care work when you talk about financial services and financial inclusion? Because this the unequal paid work keeps women time poor, and when they are time poor, they have so limited time to actually do any productive or economic activities, and then also financial services that they would need after, Gender stereotypes, and that puts a lot of women in many boxes, and not very pretty boxes, in terms of their occupation, what they need or shouldn't be doing, in terms of even perceptions about women not being good entrepreneurs. In this context, within such a context, often women lose their self-confidence, and it's not their, I wouldn't say shame it on them, That's a consequence of the context. I would say also women face a lot of discriminatory and biased behaviors within the society, but within organizations and workplaces. And not a surprise to many of you, they end up being overrepresented in the informal sector in micro enterprises that generate very limited profit, often seasonal, and have limited potentials for growth. Because of social norms also, they have limited social networks and mobility that limits their access to information in general about the market and as economic actors in the market, but also information about financial services that are available. And I would say the legal environment not being ideal is also a reflection of the general bias in the overall context. How about within financial institutions? We look at the context and we often look and think about barriers that are outside of us as financial service providers, but what happens within us matters too. Of course, we don't have aliens working in our institutions. We have people from the context, and that comes with its baggage of biases and discriminatory attitudes, as well as policies that translate to not very conducive policies. And the research has come up also with barriers for women working in the sector within financial institutions in fair opportunities to being recruited, to be promoted, to achieve, growth, career growth within the sector. And even when women break the ceiling, the glass ceiling, they often are questioned about their leadership skills. They're not accepted as leaders, Now, one other key aspect is the lack of business case for gender and gender mainstreaming that came out so prominently also from the research, but in general as well, and how biases seep into our operational policies, be it in our credit policies, be it in the way that we communicate and outreach about our products and services, be it about the design and the tailoring of products and services and how we deliver it, so throughout the user journey. I would say to address that, gender KPIs can be super key. What is gender KPIs? Basically, these are the systematic analysis, collection, and the use and reporting of gender-related indicators, and that allow us to get a nuanced understanding of the different segments of women sectors that we aim to target. I know you deal with so many women as microfinance institutions, notably, but getting a nuanced understanding, this is one key aspect. We're going to be discussing this when we discuss in the next question about gender KPIs. But gender gender KPIs are basically your radar screen to be able to know, am I advancing, progressing in my performance? What is my impact within my institution on different segments of women and men, but also within our clients? So the portfolio performance, our institutional performance. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally. I would like to turn to the financial institution representatives here. And Rania, you have been working on supporting MSMEs and women in particular. Could you elaborate on your journey when advancing access to finance for women?
Okay, thank you, Katia. Our journey with gender started in 2018, officially when we started gathering information regarding our employees, percentage of female working in the organization, also the percentage of females in senior positions, and other related information regarding turnover rate. And all of this we issued in reports, internal reports. From this, in 2022, we had a gender assessment funded by Senate, and from this assessment, there were a lot of recommendations coming from the assessment. Some of the recommendations were related to percentage of female clients at Vitas Palestine, in addition to other policies and procedures that should be taken. For this, Vitas Palestine developed a new product for women called Riyadiyya, and this was targeting women in business, business owned by women. And in parallel to the assessment, we were introduced to the WEPs, the Women Empowerment Principles by UN Women, and we signed the WEPs. It was all parallel, and from this we have developed a work plan depending on the WEPs tools. In 2023, also we worked with the IFC on a pilot project regarding the gender disaggregated data, and this helped us in, and we're now doing the classification of our clients. In addition, 2023 also we had a project with IFC regarding the gender diversity, and with this we worked on two parallel issues. One of them was develop some policies in order to maintain our female talents. The other was to develop the capacity of our middle management female employees to be a part or to be in a pool of talents, of leadership talents applicable to get a position in a senior position if a vacancy arises. This was concerning what we have done, activities since 2022, where we officially worked on our gender issues.
Thank you, Rania. And now to you, Abir. Tanwilkam has also been working on this topic, on advancing finance to women. Would you also say a few words about your experience and what you have done to date?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Katia. I will proceed in Arabic, actually. First, we have our internal policy. Sorry, in Arabic. I need to switch my language. بداية احنا عندنا مجموعة من السياسات اللي بتضمن عدم التمييز بالتعامل في جميع المراحل، سواء كعملاء في جميع مراحل الخدمة أو كموظفين. على صعيد العملاء على سبيل المثال تمويلات عندنا بتمنح لغايتين رئيسيات، يا إما هدف اجتماعي وبيتضمن على سبيل المثال تحسين منزل صحي تعليمي، بالإضافة للغايات الإنتاجية. فيما يخص الأهداف الاجتماعية عندنا قرض متخصص للنساء، هو جروب لون ما بيلزم، أو قرض جماعي ما بيلزم يكون في كفيل لهذا القرض. فعندنا معظم منح التمويلات الجماعية بتكون للنساء. بالإضافة للأهداف الإنتاجية، وتميزنا بقرض خاص بالنساء، مش خاص بالنساء، هو خاص بالمشاريع الإنتاجية، بحيث بيشمل المشاريع المنزلية أو تحت التأسيس، وهي عادة بتكون مملوكة بشكل كبير للنساء، مما ساعدنا برفع البورتفوليو عنا لتصير 72% منها للنساء موجهة. بالإضافة للخدمات المالية اللي بنقدم كمان خدمات غير مالية. على سبيل المثال، لحتى نشبك هاي الأشخاص اللي عندهم مشاريع منزلية بالسوق المحلي ويقدروا يبيعوا منتجاتهم، بنوفر لهم نقاط بيع مجانية بتكون ببازارات موجودة بمجتمع محلي، بيقدروا لينك يصير بين المجتمع المحلي وأصحاب المشاريع، صاحبات المشاريع كمان. كمان نعمل جلسات تثقيف مالي متخصصة، عادة بيحضرها نسبة كتيرة من النساء. هاي المحاضرات والسيشنز بتكون عادة بتساعدهم على إدارة مشاريعهم، على النهوض فيها، وعلى ضمان الاستمرارية. فمثلا كيف بيقدروا يعملوا إدارة للإيرادات والمصاريف بهاي المشاريع. بالفترة الأخيرة وبعد كوفيد لاحظنا كتير توجه على المشاريع المنزلية من خلال صفحات التواصل الاجتماعي، فصار كتير من المشاريع المنزلية بتروج لها من خلال صفحات التواصل الاجتماعي. ولهيك اشتغلنا مع ثيرد بارتي أو طرف ثالث، عملنا تريننج متخصص على موضوع الديجيتال ماركتينج، لحتى كمان هدول صاحبات المشاريع يقدروا يمشوا بمشاريعهم ويروجوا عن طريق الديجيتال ماركتينج ويعملوا زي بلاتفورم للإي كوميرس. بالإضافة إنه عندنا بارتنرشيب أو شراكة مع البرنامج الأردني لسرطان الثدي، وبنعمل بشكل مستمر محاضرات تثقيف صحي، لأنه برضو بهمنا صحتهم كمان. فبنعمل تثقيف صحي على موضوع الفحص المبكر لسرطان الثدي. فهذا in general what تمويلكم ضد.
Thank you very much for sharing about the work you do. And I would like now to turn to Iveta to speak maybe from the impact investor perspective, to also elaborate a little bit on what you have done in the region when it comes to promoting gender finance.
Thank you very much, Katya. I'm also very pleased to be here among like-minded investors, partner institutions of the Summit Fund. Most of you are familiar with the Summit Fund. We have been in the market for over 13 years now, and we are one of the few impact investors that is dedicated to the MENA region. We have worked for many years to support financial inclusion in the region, and for the past 4 or 5 years we have really focused on supporting access to finance for women in business. And we do that for 2 reasons. One, of course, is that we want to have an impact. We want to create economic opportunities for women to unleash their creativity, their entrepreneurship talents, and to support, of course, jobs and employment in the region. But there is one more reason which we find even more important, and this is the opportunity that we see. This segment is very much underserved, remains so, as Sally quoted some numbers earlier, and as we also heard from the governor of the Central Bank of Jordan. Women in business are still underserved. They don't have access to sufficient financing to be able to scale and to make their businesses successful. And this is where we see the big opportunity for our partner institutions as well, to go out, to increase their outreach to women-owned businesses, and to grow and be successful together with them. Therefore, what we do is we have a comprehensive approach. We not only finance financial institutions that target women, micro and small businesses, but we also support them with non-financial services to increase their capacity to serve women by helping them with their strategies, by creating tailored products that are focused on the female segment of the market. But also we do a lot of sector work. So we work with other like-minded investors. We also work with regulators such as the Central Bank of Jordan to make sure that best practices are implemented on a policy level as well, and that gives an impetus for the market to develop further. As you can see, we have just released our latest impact report, and we are very proud to say that on all benchmarks that we follow, we are above the regional average. So, for example, above 40% of our clients are female borrowers. We support around 380,000 jobs in the region through our financing, and 1/3 of these jobs are for women, for female business owners or leaders. So we are very proud of that, but we also know that this is not the end of the journey. This is the start of it, and it will take a long-term approach and also a partnership approach, as mentioned by my colleagues, that we all need to collaborate together with our partner institutions, with consultants, but also with regulators, to make sure that these opportunities really unlocked and creates positive impact in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Iveta. With this, I would like to turn into, or go into the topic of gender mainstreaming, Sally. And could you walk us through, let's say, the findings of the research? Where does the region stand when it comes to gender mainstreaming? So over to you.
Thank you. And before going to the research, it's going to be a long-winded sharing of the findings, if you allow me to share some of the main concepts, what they really mean. Gender mainstreaming has a lot of, how can you say, myths and concepts that remain in the abstract. And I hope you come out, maybe, I'm sure many of you already know it, but if you haven't come across some of the themes. So what is gender mainstreaming? It's about getting a new set of glasses, like my glasses that I cannot live without. So it's those sets of glasses allow you to consider the needs, the challenges, the realities, the priorities of different segments of women and men while you do anything. Anything that is from small training you're conducting for your department for, on leadership, so it's not only on gender issues, it's anything that you do in general, to a product you're planning to launch or design, to an outreach campaign that you do. So it's a new set of glasses that you do, and you take into consideration in whatever that you do the needs, the realities, the challenges, and the aspirations, what different segments of women and men want to get out of whatever that you plan to do. And it's not to analyze those and understand them for the sake of our donors, for the sake of our board, for a pretty presentation. It's actually to use that understanding for the actual, to inform your actual decisions about what you want to do, how to do it, when to do it, with what, in what way. And that is the strategy to achieve gender mainstreaming. That's actually the heart of doing gender mainstreaming in practice. I want to come to that apple, and why am I sharing you that sliced apple? No, not hungry, I promise. It's actually about us, each of us, having different identity factors like this sliced apple. Each part of our identity, come together, intersect together, and make our life experience. Parts of our identity can be age, our race, our religious beliefs, and our mental capacities or abilities, and so on. So why am I mentioning this? So we don't put women and men into pink and blue boxes. Those boxes don't exist. So whenever we talk about women and men, imagine them as a very diverse, not black and white, pink and blue. There are so many different segments of women and men that their needs and realities differ, hence our interventions with them, whatever that we do institutionally and operationally needs to consider that. Now, gender mainstreaming is our way to achieve gender-responsive financial inclusion, to achieve the financial inclusion that is in part of all of your visions and missions. It's actually our only way, gender mainstreaming, to address the root causes of the problem, not only the symptoms that we often stop with. So to address why the issue is there, instead of taking a Tylenol and addressing the symptoms only. It's addressing the virus, it's addressing the supply and demand side barriers that we touched on, earlier and more. What are gender KPIs before we move to the research? Gender KPIs, are they sex desegregated data? Is it the same? Actually, part of gender KPIs are sex desegregated data, but it's actually beyond. It's a more broader concept. And it's about the, like I mentioned earlier, the systematic use, collection, use, reporting, analysis of gender-related data. And it can be quantitative, but also needs to be qualitative, because the gender story is not only told by numbers. So it's about understanding the access, outreach, uptake, and usage of our different products and services, as well as interventions institutionally. So it's also about the data collection methods that we need to use to be able to address the stereotypes and the social cultural factors that can actually lead to bias into our data. And it's also about data within our institutions, not only on our clients segment. Very quickly, why gender KPIs? Why do you give us all this headache, Sally? We have so much on our plates, because it is your radar screen. Gender KPIs, if you want to fly in an airplane with no radar, don't use gender KPIs, don't waste your energy. Otherwise, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. What you cannot measure, you cannot improve. If you don't know where you are and how you're progressing within your institution and portfolio with a gender lens, then you're really blindfoldedly advancing. So it is about really addressing the financial inclusion barriers, exclusion barriers, if you will, and it is about assessing the market opportunity to be able to, the market opportunity for different segments of women to build the business case that we mentioned is missing, really. And it is about getting a nuanced understanding beyond what we know our women clients, Sally, what are you talking about? We've been dealing with them for 30 years. Yes, we need a more nuanced understanding of the different segments. What does this mean? Their financial, economic, social realities, the diverse needs that they have, not one need, it's the diverse needs, priorities, their behaviors. Why are they not uptaking that product? Why are they using it for that product? What is their impact on them? And the barriers and the gaps and their pain points, as well as how do they make their decisions. So it's about assessing and tracking your performance, documenting your success as well. It's not only about negative things, it's also about identifying the challenges and opportunities to steer your progress. What did the research that we conducted reveal? So it was the research that aimed to see where's gender KPIs and gender mainstreaming efforts in some cases, but the focus was on gender KPIs in the region. It was, the methodology was mainly on desk review, consultations and surveys with financial service providers, partners of Sanad. And these were from various countries, including Tunisia, Morocco, Palestine, Lebanon, Egypt, and Jordan. So there is good news, there is momentum gains. It's not the negative picture. It's actually MFIs. You continue to be in the lead when it comes, notably MFIs that have an intentional gender strategy. Continue to be in the lead vis-a-vis banks, even though there are some inspiring examples. Banks, and of course, a lot less so leasing companies, they're still nascent to that. Triggers, as we know, no surprise there, on gender KPIs, donors as well as regulators, except for we need to think also that sometimes regulators' requirements stay at the access indicators, when in fact gender KPIs that are needed for more sophisticated decision-making processes of financial service providers need to be different sets of indicators. 80%, our research shows that about 80% of surveyed partners do some gender-related reporting. This is amazing, isn't it? About 60% regularly track outreach to women-led organizations. Now, that said, the most, how can you say, missed opportunity is actually in the use of data. Data is not collected for data. Is what do we use it for? So we miss out on systematically leveraging using this data to inform institutional and operational decisions and to target the women's segments. Another part is actually, these are quotes from our great interviewees, not using data is a major challenge. Another said, we are sitting on a treasure of data, but there is a strategic void that I'll mention there. There is no gender strategy for our institution. So yes, we collect it, but what do we use it for, no? About most surveyed institutions have noted that they need more capacities on mainstreaming gender and on mainstreaming gender KPIs. There is limited strategic focus, meaning about 38% of surveyed partners only had a strategy or a policy or an action, gender policy or action plan. This creates a void because we collect data again, but what do we use it for? There are no strategic priorities on this. Oftentimes, and most, do not have a gender-dedicated structure, not a gender focal point, and not interdepartmental committees that work on that, except for very few. And lack of accountability. Who's responsible for it? If there's nobody responsible for it, good luck making it work. When did it work? It worked, actually, it advanced when there was a strategic focus, intentionality about it. When there were gender muscles within the institution, gender capacity, when there was a passionate lead as well as an interdepartmental committee that actually had a focal point that was passionate about it and had the capacity, when there was leadership buy-in, when those open doors, and highlight the importance of gender KPIs. And lastly, it's not ad hoc that makes it work. Challenges are many. I'll just go very quickly to two of them. The business case for gender KPIs. Gender KPIs are still seen as a cost center. It is something that you ask us to put resources into because we don't see the back, why would it profit us in our operation and institutions? Market research, the availability of market level research that can help get a nuanced understanding. And the last, to my surprise, I was thinking data-related issues would be the first to come out. There are. It's not to say that they are perfect, everything is perfect, but like one had very nicely quoted it, they said when there's a way, when there's a will, there is a way. So maybe there are data issues, but that's not a major barrier. And this will be made available as well as the toolkit, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally. And I would maybe turn to Iveta, as you have been supporting, or the Sanad Fund and TA facility have been supporting institutions on this topic. Could you elaborate on, let's say, success stories and challenges faced in your work?
Okay. Thank you, Katja. Maybe I start with the success stories. So I think as a fund, we've been working for many years to support our partner institutions to overcome all these challenges that Sally mentioned. And we have worked extensively through our technical assistance facility to equip them with the right tools, with the right procedures, with the right trainings, so that they can adopt more gender inclusive strategies really as part of their institutional setup. And I can mention, my colleagues will continue after me, but we've worked very extensively with the Vitas Group, for example, since 2021, to do an in-depth assessment of their operational institutional setup, of their strategies, and then with the recommendations and the findings that our consultants found out, we could help the institution advance on its journey to not only increase outreach to female clients, but internally to also strengthen equity, gender equity. So this is clearly a success story for us, and we are looking forward to working with many other of our partner institutions to help them build the necessary capacities to overcome the barriers that are clearly still out there. Last year, for example, we launched a technical assistance program, which is especially tailored to financial institutions that would like to go forward with gender smart strategy and financing. And the good part about it, of course, is that the SANA Technical Assistance Facility heavily supports it financially, but also that it's very flexible. So it's really tailored to the specific needs of each institution. It has different models, and institutions can pick and choose the ones that are most relevant to them. So we are very proud of it. We also see that there are a lot of challenges ahead. Of course, data, Sally just mentioned how important it is to inform decision making. And what we see on the market is that there is not sufficient market level data on financing for women. So institutions have a lot of data in their own setups, but on the market level, we still see a lot of scarcity on how far financing for women has gone. And therefore, we also invest quite a lot of time and resources in market studies to try to collect this data, but also to disseminate it across market participants to facilitate their work going forward. And then on sector level, what we also recognize is that there is a need for better collaboration between different market participants, investors, financial institutions, but also regulators, to come up with a harmonized approach, because it seems each country is on its own journey, and of course Jordan is very much ahead with its financial inclusion strategy, leading the way, but we think that for the market as a whole it will be beneficial to collaborate better, to collaborate more among different regulators and market participants, to come up with best practices that are then applicable across the market. And we are very interested and keen to work on that as part of the technical assistance facility. I will stop here maybe and hand it back to you, Katja.
Thank you, Iveta. And I would like now to also hand it over to Rania and Abir to speak. You are the institutions who have been working on mainstreaming gender, and you have spoken about it. You mentioned a few of the major initiatives. Rania, maybe you could also elaborate on achievements and challenges that you faced throughout this process.
Okay, thank you, Katja. As part of our mission at Vitas Palestine is to provide financial products that respond to our clients' needs. And one of the major needs that we found out was have, as I said, a product especially for women. So on the operational side, we worked on creating this product. It's targeting women in business because we need that to make sure that the product or the loan that is given to the women are given to them to empower their business, and not a loan for their male, either for their brother or for their husband. So this was a new product targeting women from the ages of 22 till 55, and up to $30,000. The good thing about that loan is it's not only for actual businesses, it's also for startups, for females. What we did on an institutional level, we created the gender unit. This is one of the things that we have done. And we created a team of 6 people, 3 women, 3 men, from all departments of Vitas Palestine. And this team worked and is working on revising all the manuals, revising all the policies to make sure there's a gender lens on this. And also they will be organizing focus groups in order to develop new products. We will work on partnerships with other organizations in order to increase the percentage of women clients at Vitas Palestine. This is one of the things. Other things also, as I said, the capacity building of our middle management employees in order to have that pool of leaders, female leaders at Vitas Palestine. In addition, we're working for the procurement also on having female vendors in our procurement process, and we have succeeded in having and working with great women, and we have excellent work, excellent products from these. Some are from our clients, and some others are companies led or owned by women. Also, we have, as I said previously about the digital loans that we are working on having. One of the obstacles that we are facing is that we need an identification for the women through the digital loans and through the digital means. So some women are they don't like to take their picture and with the ID card. So we're working on finding other alternatives in order for women to apply for this, because the main reason for having, one of the main reasons for having a digital loan is to reach people who cannot come physically to our offices. So women, a lot of women have this issue, so it would be easier for them to apply for a loan. Especially if we're thinking about also providing or offering Riyadiyya loan for women through digital channels. Also, for Vitas Palestine, also we have conducted some workshops with women and women associations, especially in villages. In order to educate them on financial means and also promote Riyadiyya loan. And hopefully things will settle down and roads will be opened again and we can consume with all these our activities. But mainly now we are concentrating on technical colleges, female colleges, and who have graduates who will be doing their business or having their own business. So now we're concentrating on them in some areas. If it's not easy to go to villages, then we can just access these colleges either online or we go physically to them. Because we found out that talking to a person in person, it's different than just talking to them or reading a brochure or reading a billboard. They have more confidence in a person talking to them personally. Also, with what we are doing as Vitas group, in addition to our loans, of course, we are trying to manage the percentages of women in senior positions. Now we are proud that we have 40% of our board females. We have 43% of our employees women. We have also percentages of our senior position or senior employees, 40% also women, and we're increasing this. Hopefully it will increase more and we'll have, we need 50%. We're not asking for more, and hopefully we can do that. And it's not only numbers, but also quality. So this is what we are doing. Hopefully we can do other things. We have been working on gender since 2022, and I think we have a future for this also. And the unit and the gender unit is working hard on developing all these policies and procedures. And one of the main things is that we have done, and we're doing currently, creating a lot of policies in order to maintain our female talents, especially related to life-work balance and with friendly family policies that can, because we found out that a lot of our female employees are leaving work or are not looking for to be promoted just because of family issues. So one of the things that we are doing currently is the family-friendly policies, including flexible time and remote work. So hopefully we can do that, and we have the policies soon in order to always maintain our best female employees.
Very impressive, Rania. Thank you very much for sharing. You have been doing quite a lot, and thank you for sharing this information with us. Abir, when it comes to Tamwilcom, what has your experience been mainstreaming gender institutionally and operationally?
اوكي. رح ابدا من موضوع الجندر كي بي ايز اللي حكت عنه سالي، لانه يونيت يعني لحتى تقيس بدك تقيس لحتى تطور. فعنا احنا داخليا في عنا مجموعه من السياسات، واحده منهم متعلقه بقياس مؤشرات الاداء الاجتماعي، وبتعمل بشكل مستمر على قياس نسبة النساء في محفظة الشركة، نسبة النساء العاملين في الشركة، نسبة النساء في المناصب الإدارية، بالإضافة إلى نسبة أعضاء مجلس الإدارة من النساء. فعلى سبيل المثال بتم هاي قياس هالمؤشرات، وبصير لها دايركت ريبورتينج تقارير مستمرة كمان للبورد لحتى نضمن الحوكمة كمان فيما يخص موضوع المؤشرات الاجتماعية. بالإضافة لهيك في عنا ميثاق سلوك مهني بيتم التدريب عليه بشكل مستمر جميع موظفين الشركة، بتضمن عدم التمييز، بتضمن كمان إذا صار أي حادث تمييز بيتم الريبورت أو الإبلاغ عنه بطرق فيها شفافية، فيها سرية، وبنفس الوقت ضمان عدم تضارب المصالح. كمان بدي أحكي أنه قانون العمل الأردني بطبيعته بضمن امتيازات للنساء العاملات، فمثلا مثل maternity leave أو ساعات الأمومة أو مغادرة الأمومة اللي بتكون لإلها، كمان في ساعات تقدر للعناية بأطفالها ساعة لمدة سنة. بالإضافة لإلها إحنا كمان بنطبق ميزات إضافية داخل تمويلكم، مثل شمول العاملات وعائلاتهم بخدمة التأمين الصحي. طبعا توفير هاي البيئة المريحة للعاملين بالشركة وبالأخص للعاملين من النساء أسهم بزيادة عدد النساء العاملين لدينا، فصارت تقريبا بتمثل 58% من توتال موظفين الشركة. كمان نسبة النساء في المانجيريال ليفل وصلت ل 33%، بالإضافة ل 28% نسبة النساء من أعضاء مجلس الإدارة. بالناحية الأوبريشن طبعا منتجاتنا وخدماتنا متوفرة على حد سواء، حتى الترويج والإعلان لهذه المنتجات بيكون سيميلر أو متماثل للنساء والرجال. كمان عندنا كتير سكسس ستوري لمجموعة من النساء اللي بلشوا مشروعهم بمشروع صغير بالبيت بمساهمة من زوجها ومساعدة زوجها، وصاروا أبنائها يشتغلوا معها، صار المشروع الصغير هذا مصدر دخل للعائلة كاملة. we go forward، وإن شاء الله في عنا plans كمان رح نحكي عنها. Thank you, Katya.
What great work you do. Thank you for sharing. As part of the project that we implemented right last year, we also developed a toolkit on mainstreaming gender KPIs that aims to support institutions in mainstreaming gender institutionally and operationally. And I would like now to turn to Sally to walk us very briefly through the toolkit. The toolkit is available in English and Arabic, and we will also provide more information about it by the end of the presentation. So Sally, over to you.
Thank you, and I'll try to keep it short. So you get a flavor, this was, you'll have access. I strongly recommend, we're going to get, like what Katya is saying, is to click on it and have a look at it. It was based on the research that was conducted to inform the design of it. By the way, I see many faces that contributed to the research, and I thank you for it, including, of course, our panel here. So the document aimed to give an understanding of gender KPIs as well as best practice approaches. It's a very hands-on guide. It's not like philosophical discussions. It's a step-by-step guide, as well as success stories, potential pitfalls that you can foresee when you promote gender as well as when you promote gender KPIs. So it gave a snapshot on some of the key concepts a gender gender journey, for any institution that is interested in a gender journey, of course, this is not an extensive one because it's mainly on gender KPIs, but still gives a very good guide on where to start, and then gives a very detailed journey on gender KPIs and step-by-step approach on operationalizing those. So you'll see, I'll go quickly on this one. You'll see a journey like this one, step by step, from engaging stakeholders to assessing where you are at an institution, to determining your matrices, that should be the red, to determining your matrices, to actually building your capacity. I'll just give you a flavor of that in a minute, and then operationalizing gender KPIs from collecting to analyzing and using data, with a focus on analyzing and using data, because remember in the research, part of it was one of a major missed opportunity was that we don't use the data that we have. It has actually a gender assessment, a self-assessment that any of you can conduct right after our meeting today with accessing the toolkit. You can see where you are from the gender KPIs journey, from the buy-in, assessing the buy-in and the focus on gender and gender KPI, to the capacity and institutional structures, accountability there, as well as the capacities and efforts that you have in collecting data, as well as in analyzing and using data. So you can see where am I, where is our institution as a basis, as always, for progressing forward. I'll just very briefly go through some of the key aspects. It speaks about engaging stakeholders, who's involved, who's going to be leading, who's going to be against the idea as well, no? And then to doing a sort of a reverse engineering. Most of you, as we saw, 80% collect data. Many of you already collect data, but some of it is not usable. So maybe most of it is used depending on your organization. So it's looking at what decisions am I making, what information and gender data that need to be feeding into this to make decisions with a gender lens and to identify gaps accordingly. It walks you through that with an assessment of what the quality, relevance, and so on. Then determining the matrices, and gives you, actually quite an extensive potential list that you can consider. It's never going to be 100% exhaustive, but it looks at operational as well as institutional indicators that you may consider. And then it speaks about setting up the mechanisms. It's not only do I have gender KPIs, what muscles and what infrastructure does my institution have to be able to make this work systematically, because remember, ad hoc does not achieve it. So who's responsible? Who's going to be responsible for collecting it? Who has access to this information? Decision makers, how do you have access to this information, gender KPIs, to make proper decisions, no? At what frequency, what data specifications, and so on. Resources, incentives that are needed, how to align that with your organizational strategy and communicate accordingly. Just a very brief one on operationalizing. Part of it talks about visualization in an age where most of us are swamped with so much data, and about how visualization can be super key tool to make information accessible, especially for decision making who don't have time to review an 80-page report. And maybe gender, like how can you say, cockpit, or like, there's a word to it, like a radar, gender radar that, yes, exactly. Thank you, Nala. And from there on how to make data actionable, like from information to distill it in a way to make it actionable, to make it usable and actionable. I super recommend that you can please review it and let us know your thoughts as well.
Thank you. So at this point, we have presented, let's say, very briefly the results of the assessment that was conducted, walked you briefly through the Gender KPI Toolkit, and I would like now to turn to, let's say, the recommendation section and summarize the work. Sally, as part of the report that you produced, you included valuable recommendations for, let's say, the sector in general and institutions in particular when it comes to mainstreaming gender KPIs. And on the sector level, you talk about the need to facilitate, let's say, knowledge exchange, right, and presenting the best practices when it comes to the topic. You talk about the need to support the regulators and work with regulators to also, let's say, make this topic not to, let's say, to raise importance, but also to ensure that there is a regulatory drive when it comes to mainstreaming gender. When it comes to institutions, we talk about assessments, we talk about the gender strategy. Could you walk us, let's say, or provide more details for institutions who wish to go deeper into the topic? Where should they start?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. First of all, please do not try to flatten a round world. In that sense, I mean that oftentimes we get stuck when it comes to gender responsive financial inclusion. We get hooked up at the access part. Yes, access is super important. Convenience, affordability, and proximity of our products are super important, but we don't flatten the world. The world is very rounded and it has layers, including access, yes, but what about the usage of tailored products and services that are tailored to the different needs of different segments of women and men, to their aspirations, what they want to get out of it? What about the quality of our products, not only focusing on access, going to the reliability, responsibility, transparency of it with a gender lens, as well as the impact. What impact do we have on the different segments of women and men, on what value do we add on the resilience, on their asset building, on risk mitigations and others? So that is something that I recommend also with a gender lens. I would also note that there are no magical formulas. People come to people like me and ask, can you just give us a checklist, please, if we can? I promise you there are no checklists, it's no magical formula, it's actually a journey. That's the reality of the thing. It is about actually starting with a tailored journey that works for you, for your institution. You cannot adopt anybody's story. So you cannot use somebody else's journey. You need to start with analyzing, where am I? Most of you have done something when it comes to related to gender. It's about analyzing the efficiency of that, effectiveness on that, from an operational point of view and institutional point of view, to design a journey that is workable for you. Super important to work on both, operational, institutional, or else our housekeeping is not done when we're trying to advance operationally only, and that is not effective. Then your institutional muscles are not there. Depending on where you are in the journey, you will typically start by conducting a gender assessment. By the way, these don't have to go for years and years and cost millions and millions of dollars, but they are so essential to reflect on what have I done, operational institution that is working, and then to design an action plan and a strategy that actually puts the intentionality into the work that you want to do on gender, to start implementing it and to monitor it with gender KPIs that can help you, and then to actually continuously learn and reflect. And by the way, I didn't find that like automatically. I wanted it as a circle because that's an ongoing process. It's not something that you do once every 10 years and forget about it. Please, I know when gender assessments come up, people be like, I don't want to know, I'm human too, I hate looking in the mirror. So it's difficult to look in the mirror. And assessments give us some parts that are positive, some parts that are negative, but they are super important to understand our reality rather than assume and rely on reflections. So please conduct that to know where you stand and to put your resources, your unlimited resources, where it should go. I would say also, please, when you don't have a plan, you're part of somebody else's plan, or your goal is just a wish. So you need actually a plan, a strategy to put your intentionality in it with guiding principles. What are the findings of what am I doing well? What am I doing less well? What are the priorities that I want to put my efforts in a phased approach? And what results and KPIs that I can use to track my progress Resources, please do put resources in gender strategies and action plans. I haven't seen anything that is under-resourced more than this. And put accountability, put it in the performance evaluations of your staff, including leadership and at all levels. Leadership buy-in is important. Others buy-in is important because this is an interdepartmental work. It's actually institutional capacities and muscles, what I call muscles. The gender muscles is what makes it work. What gets planned for with accountability and resources gets done. Please don't underestimate. Don't do like me. Earlier in my life, I used to just not want to go through, if it's too far of a distance, I wouldn't want to take the, wouldn't want to take the distance. Smaller steps towards the right direction are always worth it. You're always getting closer. Final ones on gender KPIs, it's a journey. Engage stakeholders because it's not a top-down thing. If you try and do it top-down, just don't waste your energy. It's a top-down, bottom-up, and peer-to-peer. That's an interdepartmental one. Get the metrics right. Decide intentionally what metrics you will use for decision-making. It's not gender KPIs and data for that. Align it with your organizational strategies to give you the arms and the tools to assess your progress towards your organizational priorities. Establish processes that make it work systematically and build capacities to achieve it. Last, start small. Don't be super ambitious. Start with what you have in terms of existing systems. Adopt an intersectional lens. Don't put women and men in two boxes. They are not like that. Get the business case right so people are on board. Be clear on what you want. And lastly, put it in a bite size. Do it in a phased approach and be realistic about the time. Thank you so much. What an honor to be with you here.
Thank you, Sally. Very, very valuable recommendations, and of course, I would encourage the participants to also get a chance to exchange with you afterwards and learn more. Rania, having heard all the information here today, what are your plans when it comes to advancing on your gender journey? And also, maybe you could provide a couple of recommendations for, let's say, your peers who are at the very beginning, who would like to, let's say, start with this gender journey. What would you recommend to them?
Okay. For us at Vitas Palestine, we will continue our work. We continue educating women on means of finance, and we'll educate them because it's part of our social responsibility, not only to promote our products, but it's also part of the social responsibility. So we'll continue this. We'll continue having a gender lens on all of our activities, especially promotional materials and our promotions, our social media posts. Everything should have a gender lens. Also, we'll continue developing the capacity of our employees and continue having and increasing the pool of leaders for any vacant senior positions. We will develop our partnerships, and we believe that we need to work as a team with all our other organizations. Maybe some female organizations, women organizations will educate, will empower the women who will be ready to take a loan and be able to economically empower themselves through our loans. We hope that we can have a guarantee fund to reduce the cost of risk for for female loans, and for this we can provide loans with less collaterals or with no collaterals for a period of time with this guarantee fund. My advice from an organization, from a company that worked with gender, first of all, know your numbers, know your percentages. And from this, do the assessment and don't be afraid from the results, because the recommendations that get out of this assessment could help you in developing your policies, your strategies towards having gender equity in your company. Also, develop your policies, build the, what else? educate your clients, educate and develop the capacity of your employees and believe in your employees. When you develop the capacity and engage everyone in order to change the mindset, this will help a lot in having a strategy for gender inside the company. And wish all good luck in this journey. It was a very educating journey. We have learned a lot, and we will continue to learn more during the coming years, hopefully. And hopefully we can be able to increase the percentage of our female clients, because I don't know if you all know, but the percentage of PAR, the commitment from female clients is a lot more than the commitments from male clients. And in some of the loans for females, it's approximately 0. So we are proud to have female clients who are committed to their payments, and that is what made us look for and develop female products. So these are some of my recommendations, and also believe in your employees and develop their capacities, and believe in their ability for decision making also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rania. And Abir, over to you. What are your plans and how are you planning to advance on your gender journey? And if you have any recommendations also to share with the audience today when it comes to mainstreaming gender institutionally, operationally, and advancing access to finance to women.
Thank you, Katya. ستارت بالبداية زي ما سمعتوا السيد محافظ البنك المركزي على الاستراتيجية الوطنية للشمول المالي اللي بتشمل من الفئات المستهدفة المرأة. فبناء انطلاقا من الاستراتيجية الوطنية للشمول المالي وانطلاقا من استراتيجيتنا كتمويل كوم، أحد المحاور اللي بهمنا نركز عليها هي منح النساء والنساء بشكل عام، سواء على مستوى institution أو operational. طبعا بصاحب الاستراتيجية تدريب وكاباسيتي بيلدينج للتيم لحتى كمان نقلل التشينج مانجمنت اتجاه اي او اداره التغيير اتجاه اي تغيير، بالاضافه الى وضع مؤشرات للقياس زي ما حكينا الجندر KPIs او مؤشرات الاداء على اساس الجندر كثير مهمه لحتى نعرف وين وصلنا ولوين بدنا نستمر. بالإضافة لهيك طبعا زي ما أشارت رانيا تسهيل أو التحول الرقمي واستراتيجية التحول الرقمي بتساهم للوصول للفئات اللي أنا ما بقدر أوصلها بالطرق التقليدية. قد يكون في هناك صعوبات للوصول لبعض الفروع أو للتنقل، فونس إنه صارت عملية ديجيتال اونبوردنج اللي هي تقدر توصل لجميع الفئات وبسهولة بدون الحاجة لزيارة فروع في بعض الأحيان. بالنسبة للريكومنديشن، my recommendation to start internally، البدء من على المستوى الشركة أو المؤسسة، لأنه هذا الشيء مباشرة رح يسهل الأوبريشن. مجرد ما يكون زي ما شفنا بالكيس تاع فيتاس بالستاين، مجرد ما بلشوا يشتغلوا على الجندر يونت على طول صار في من ناحية اوبريشنال في تغيير. فالبدء من الداخل على سياسات الإجراءات، على الاستراتيجية والمايند سيت والتفكير في هذا الموضوع مباشرة رح يغير على الاوبريشنال ليفل. ثانك يو، شكرا كثير لكم.
Thank you. Thank you, Abir. And over to you, Iveta. When it comes to your plans on advancing the topic in the region and any recommendations you have from the impact investor perspective on what we as a community can do to advance on this topic.
Thank you, Katya. I'm aware that we are behind time, so I'm going to be very quick because I would like to leave the opportunity also to our audience to ask questions. So one thing which I wanted to mention is that Sanat introduced this year quite an innovative approach to the way we finance and help our partner institutions. So this year, for the first time, we will be earmarking parts of our financing specifically for women business owners or managers. We will offer local currency financing, which we think is very important for this region to protect our partners and their end clients from FX volatility with relatively longer tenors. So this is reliable funding again that they can use to finance their end clients. And we would like our partners to reach certain impact indicators. So to channel our funding to women primarily or women-owned businesses, and we will couple that also with significant technical assistance support, both for the partners but also for the end clients. So this comes to what my colleagues mentioned in terms of the need to further provide financial education, networking opportunities to small and micro businesses that are led by women. We are ready to do that. My recommendation is that our partners come to us, and we will be very, very happy to work together and enhance further financial inclusion for women in the region.
Thank you. Thank you, Iveta. So with this, I would like to close our discussion and maybe give an opportunity to the audience to ask questions. Yes. So we have some questions there.
Hello, I'm Vakok Talian from Lebanon. Just wanted to know, within this study that you have presented, some remarks were made about the profitability, about the positive aspects of the gender, let's say, mainstreaming. What about return on investment? What about other metrics related to doing business for good business is good for business also? What can we have about that? Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question,
yeah,
please?
I just wanted to know how we can sell gender mainstreaming to those that don't have it strategically. Thank you.
Very good, excellent.
Would you like to take it, Sally?
Sure. I mean, that's we can. A colleague of mine, we were discussing just before, we were trying to sell another case to one entity. I would say, first of all, is to. I was reading actually a book on called Catalyst about why people change. And it's about lowering barriers for change, no? It's also about lowering barriers for change, like availing the tools and expertise that are needed to be able to implement that change. So many people have ideally, oftentimes people find people on board, yes, but it's giving the tools and awareness on where to start. That's one, gives accessibility. It's also about the opportunity. It's an opportunity cost. 50% of the population that is not being served, or even more. It's an economic loss. It's a social loss from having, if we were speaking, like what kind of what population, what society would ever want to put on hold, imprison 50% of its population economically. I mean, that's hypothetically, huh? If we're to think economically and put half of it on hold. Like, that's an economic loss. It's a human rights issue, for sure. It's a social loss because of the income. The return on investment in women doesn't come back on women only. It comes on the children, on the society. But I go back also to human rights, if you allow me as well, not only on that. So it's an economic loss. It's for you as financial institution. What can you imagine just tapping into such an unleveraged market with the proper tools and the right products and services? That's a financial income right there. In addition to risk mitigation, for sure, as a financial institution, knowing what we were just discussing a little bit, my colleagues mentioned, they are quite great and loyal clients, they pay back, so I mean, it's unbeatable, I would say. It's just finding the way to operationalize it and to build the case financially with evidence. It's evidence, data. Know your data. Go back to what Rana is saying. Know your data. Arm yourself with evidence. So it's not my opinion versus yours. It's actually the data saying it. Thank you for the excellent question.
Are there any other questions?
My question is to Sanad Saleh. Yes, I noticed that all the data that you get from Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, and these countries, but we have another context in Yemen. We have another. It's the most difficult context for women. I want to know if you have any collaboration or partnership with an NGO or governmental sectors in Yemen to know the gender mainstreaming for women, and how can we help women, especially in the MFIs in microfinance sectors. If you have anything, can you help us to start to collect data, especially if we need to collect qualitative data, and this is the most difficult thing in collecting data and research also. Women in Yemen are in the local authorities' view are the key of the soft war. When we are working in gender, we can find ourselves in the prisons. So can Sanad help us to start gender mainstreaming interventions in Yemen, or it's not in your agenda or action plans?
Maybe I can take this one. So on the Sanad Fund is currently not active in Yemen, while on the technical assistance facility we are implementing TA projects, and we are working mostly on the sector level. So we've implemented projects with the Yemen Microfinance Network, and we'll be happy to pick up this topic and also discuss with them how this could be relevant and how we could support maybe in the operationalization in Yemen. Thank you. And I see that we are running out of time, so we are still here and happy to address any questions. I would encourage you to also approach the panelists. I would like to thank everybody for your insights, for sharing your success stories with the audience, Sally, for conducting the research and developing the toolkit. And here on the screen, you see the toolkit that is available in both English and Arabic languages. So please take a look and do take that assessment and see where you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Katja. Thank you, everyone.
Sharon.